Well, hello. So I'm going to try to tell you this story, what happened yesterday on the news. There was two people that were climbing. So let's tell the story and see how I do on my body shift and my facial expression and my gestures and things. So yesterday on the news, they were showing some people who were climbing where on top of the Empire State Building, where that's there in New York. And so it's this really tall building, right? Like the tallest in America or before the Twin Towers. And they were climbing up there and they were all dressed in black and they had masks. And then one of them had these little ears like a cat. And I was looking at that and I said, are they supposed to be like Catwoman, or whatever? And they were climbing, and then they got all the way to the top of the antenna, and they had this big banner or a flag, and they opened it up, and it said, so it said that when the power of love beats the love of power, so I did four, the world will know peace. And that um, sentence, that slogan, is from the famous rock rock star Jimi Hendrix. Did I spell that right? Hendrix, from the 1960s. And that's what he said. And it was this big and it was black and it had white writing on it. And so that was kind of showing it and holding it, but the wind was blowing, so that last word you couldn't see. What was that saying? The last like two words. What's that say? And everyone was kind of just staring at it and concentrating on it until finally, it had it kind of whipped around a little bit and you could see it. But there was these helicopters that were going around and around and around this tall building because they had walked up to the very top of the antenna and had this. And they were, at first they were in mask and black, and you didn't know who they were. And I said, is that two men, one short, one tall? Didn't know, but everyone was really kind of watching. And then they go, oh, that's that famous couple called Sky Walkers. And so you could see them kind of climbing up there, and you're going, how did they do that? And that's dangerous. And then they were finally kind of climbing back down. And then they stood on this platform, and it was circular, and it was around there where you could stand on it. And they had no safety equipment, no net, nothing. And then because of that one perspective of the helicopter, you really couldn't see clearly until later when they showed another, I guess, a helicopter as well. But the tall person got down on their knees and out of his pocket had a ring box and opened it up and showed her and asked, will you marry me? I don't know what he said, but proposed marriage. And the shorter one, so when we figured out it was a girl, she said yes. And he stood up and they were there and they were hugging and kissing. And so you said, oh, yes, he proposed marriage. And she said yes. And then you saw it on this platform, way up high in the sky. And she was taking selfies and then, with her ring. And it was like, it was dangerous, right? We're going, ah. And so it was kind of scary that they could fall and no safety robe, nothing. And so then someone said, "Oh, they identified their names, and they were foreign names, and I'm sorry, I can't say them correctly." So anyway, So finally, they were there for a long time. And then finally, the police, they climbed up there and they went up there, and you could see from their perspective because they had their body camera, right on their chest. And it showed them that they went up there, they climbed up there themselves, and they arrested them. And then they brought him back down. And so they climbed down and they charged him with trespassing, which means that it's illegal for them to get on property that they don't own and they don't have permission. So, but then they had a fine of just $500, and I'm sure that it was advertising because they had this new uh, documentary, which I'm going to do real life movie. So it's a documentary about what they do, and it's called Sky Walkers, and it's on Netflix. Sorry about that. Um, um, so anyway, I'm sure this is not going to be on it, but there are people that have different perspectives. So the first perspective is that, oh, wow. They can tell their children and grandchildren they climbed up there and proposed marriage. Wow. And then the other perspective is that, wow, that was so dangerous. They could have fallen, they could have died, they could have been killed. Ooh, doesn't matter, what if they didn't live to tell their children and grandchildren? So there was two perspectives. But then they were trying to figure out how did they climb on top. So they figured out that they took the elevator up onto the observation deck, and you could see the whole city of New York. And then in the ceiling, there is this hatch, and they climbed up there, and then they were able to get on top and climb up the rest of the way to the antenna, where there's a light that goes around at night for any kind of helicopters or planes or drones or anything like that. And so they were able to climb that way and have this big banner, the flag. Um, anyway, so they figured out that's how they did that. So is it exciting? Is it dangerous? Is it scary? Is it exciting? So, you decide, because I think it's our own perspective, right? So it's like, okay, that's cool, that's exciting. That's like, oh, that's dangerous. I should not be doing that, right? Or, will you marry me? Because we do this for a living, or for excitement, and plus it'll give us, advertisement for our new true life movie. And the other one is like, that's crazy. So there's two perspectives about everything. So tell the story in sign language to your friends and see how you would do it. And have fun, and I'll see you later. Bye. Don't get up there.